Hello and welcome to Speak English with Teacher Scott. Following on from our previous video lesson on part 1 of the speaking test, in this lesson we'll take a look at part 2. There'll be example questions and answers, tips for success, and how to get a higher band level. Before we go too far, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and turn on notifications to never miss another lesson, and stay tuned for even more tips towards the end of this video. Right, let's begin. Let's take a look at the format. First, in part 2 of the IELTS speaking test, the examiner will introduce part 2, tell you what you need to do, and also hand you a cue card, like this, and offer you a pen and paper to note down your ideas. The cue card will contain a prompt that asks you to describe something, such as a person, a place, or an experience. It will also include 3 or 4 bullet points that give you some ideas about what you could include in your response. Read the cue card very carefully and pay particular attention to the last prompt, as this can really help you to express your unique ideas and emotions. You will then have 1 minute to take notes or create an outline to organize your thoughts and ideas. You should keep your answers structured. Begin with an introduction that sets the scene. Then add details and examples to support your main ideas. And finally, conclude your speech by summarizing your key points. Quite often, the first idea that pops into your head can be the best thing to talk about. Then you can expand on that. Jot down any keywords and phrases related to that topic that spring to mind. Your notes will be especially useful if you have any problems during your speech. Use them to get you back on track. Then the examiner will ask you to start speaking for between 1 to 2 minutes, but you should aim for 2 minutes rather than 1 minute. The examiner will not interrupt you during the 2 minutes unless you have clearly finished, but they may ask you follow-up questions, especially if you finished your speech quite early. The topic will be random, but will often be about yourself or your life experiences. This means that, similar to part 1, in part 2 there are no right or wrong answers. A common style of question would be to describe something, such as a person, place, object, or event. For example, a common question would be, describe a historical building that you have visited. Or it could be a question such as, describe an event in your life that you will never forget. So a quick tip. You can record and time yourself each time you practice giving your answers. This will help you discover any weak points that you need to work on and give you a good idea of the timing you need. It's also good to practice with a friend if possible. You can then share your ideas and pick up on each other's good and bad points, and it's also a lot more fun. So let's begin by having a look at an example question and answer. Describe a memorable event from your childhood. You should say when and where it happened, who was there with you, what happened, and why it was memorable. So one possible answer for this question could go like this. When I was 10 years old, me, my younger brother, and my parents went on a 1-week camping trip to the mountains of northern Spain. I've never been to Europe before, so it was so exciting. We stayed in a cozy wooden cabin near a river surrounded by breathtaking scenery. On our second day there, we decided to go for a hike and explore the area. We came across a stunning waterfall that was cascading down from a cliff into a pool of crystal clear water below. We stopped there for a while, taking in the stunning views and playing in the water. I remember the feeling of the cool water on my skin and the sound of the rushing water in my ears. It was delightful. After spending some quality time at the waterfall, we continued our hike and found ourselves in a beautiful meadow filled with wild flowers. The colours were so vibrant and the air was so fresh and clean. We took some pictures and picked some flowers to bring back with us. Later on in the week, we went fishing on the lake and we caught several fish. I think they were rainbow trouts. And we cooked them over an open fire for dinner. It was great. We also sang songs and told ghost stories around the campfire. I remember feeling so happy and content, surrounded by my family and enjoying the simple pleasures of life. I remember thinking that if I could live anywhere in the world, I would choose this place because it was just so incredibly beautiful and peaceful. This holiday was one of the few times that our whole family was able to spend quality time together, away from the distractions of work and studying. It was a time when we shared experiences, bonded together, and we also created some long-lasting memories. We talked and laughed so much. We played games like cards, volleyball, hide and seek, and we really enjoyed each other's company. Looking back, I realize how lucky we were to have had such a wonderful experience together. All in all, I think that this camping trip was the most memorable time of my whole life so far. It taught me the value of spending quality time with my family and appreciating the natural beauty of the world around us. I'll always treasure these memories that we created on that trip, and I hope to have many more experiences like it in the future. That's it, really. Timing. To give you an idea of timing, that answer lasted for around 2 minutes and was around 400 words long. Now, let's give some feedback for this answer. This is a good Part 2 answer that effectively communicates the speaker's experience of a camping trip to the mountains of northern Spain. The answer is also well structured and it includes many specific details that help to create a vivid picture for the listener. One suggestion for improvement would be to use more varied vocabulary to describe the scenery and emotions experienced during the trip. For example, instead of repeatedly using beautiful and stunning, the speaker could use words like breathtaking or picturesque or awe-inspiring. Additionally, instead of using happy and content, the speaker could use words like joyful or fulfilled or satisfied. Another suggestion for improvement would be to include more information about the speaker's personal feelings and thoughts during the trip. For example, the speaker could describe how they felt about being away from home and experiencing a new culture, or how they felt about spending time with their family in a new environment. Overall, this is a strong answer that effectively communicates the speaker's experience and the lessons they learned from it. With some minor improvements in vocabulary and personal reflection, this could be even stronger. Let's take a quick look at exactly what an examiner would be listening for in the previous answer, and let's also look at some of the things the examiner would likely comment on in their assessment. Fluency and coherence. The speaker speaks clearly and at a natural pace, with good use of linking words and phrases to connect ideas. The answer is well structured and easy to follow. A good range of connecting words and markers, with a clear introduction, body, and conclusion. The speaker maintains a good level of coherence throughout the answer. Overall, the speaker demonstrates a high level of fluency and coherence. Let's look at the grammar range and vocabulary. The speaker demonstrates a good range of grammatical structures, including complex sentences and appropriate use of verb tenses. There are only a few minor errors in grammar, such as missing articles or prepositions, but these do not impede understanding. Overall, the speaker demonstrates a high level of grammatical range and accuracy. Lexical resource. The speaker uses a good range of vocabulary to describe the camping trip, including descriptive adjectives and specific nouns. However, there is some repetition of vocabulary, such as beautiful and happy, which could be improved. Additionally, the speaker could use more varied vocabulary to describe emotions and scenery. Overall, this is a strong answer that demonstrates a high level of fluency and coherence, as well as a good range and accuracy of grammar. With some minor improvements in vocabulary, by not repeating any vocabulary, this answer could score even higher. And pronunciation. The speaker has excellent pronunciation, a good use of stress and intonation, and varied rhythm, easily understood. Sounds like a native speaker. As you have probably noticed, the prompts in the Part 2 questions often use the interrogative WH question words. By that I mean question words like what, when, where, who, why, how, all these WH words. The prompts help by offering ideas and suggestions. Remember, it's not compulsory to use all the prompts, although you should pay some attention to the last prompt, which often asks why you like or dislike something. This gives you the opportunity to really express your ideas using all the great vocabulary you've learnt so far. Now let's look at some other OK answers and some more advanced answers to help you improve your band level. Here's another cue card question. Describe a sport you enjoy watching or playing. You should say what it is, where you play or watch it, who you play or watch it with, and explain why you enjoy playing or watching this sport. So first, let's start with an example answer that's not so good. I really like playing football with my friends in the park because it's fun. Wow, that is a short answer. Too short. Even for a Part 1 question, that could be considered as a short answer. However, on a positive note, it does actually answer all the prompts, but it doesn't really describe anything. So let's add some more detail, some examples and information, some ideas and experiences, and try to use better vocabulary to make it sound more interesting. And remember, you should speak for more than 1 minute. 2 minutes would be ideal. So in this example, the speaker chose to talk about football. Okay? Let's enhance this answer. First, let's set the scene and introduce the sports. Well, in Morocco, most people, including me and my family and all my friends, love to watch football. It's the best game ever. I'm sure you're familiar with this team sport, so I won't go into detail with the numerous rules, especially the offside rule, which is so complicated. Quite often in my village, especially at weekends, it's common for most people to watch football. But what's really surprising is, most of those people watch football at my uncle's house, on a large screen TV. You see, he has a really big 60-inch widescreen TV, which means that everybody can watch and enjoy the match with great clarity. During the recent 2022 World Cup in Qatar, for example, my uncle moved his TV outdoors to create more space for all the people who wanted to watch the World Cup matches. The whole village was there to cheer on our national team, Morocco, whenever they played. As a team, they played pretty well, actually, and I felt so proud of them. It's a lot of fun to watch football with a crowd of loyal supporters. The excitement and tension really mounts up whenever either team start to attack. For example, if the opposition were on the attack and they looked like they could score a goal, then everybody watching would fall into a momentary shocked silence. However, when Morocco were on the attack, everybody would start to shout encouragingly, jumping up and down with excitement. The atmosphere was incredible. Needless to say, we all had a lot of fun, and it actually brought the whole village closer together. People were still talking about it until well after the event had finished. When I look back at those days, it makes me feel so happy and content, knowing that I live in such a wonderful place, where everyone from my village gets together to support our nation, And I hope that one day my team, Morocco, will eventually lift the World Cup high above their heads. That would be amazing. Let's look at some feedback for this answer. Overall, this is a good Part 2 answer with some great examples and details. The speaker has clearly answered the question and provided a lot of information about their experience of watching football in their village in Morocco. One suggestion for improvement would be to structure the answer more clearly. The speaker could start with a brief introduction about football in Morocco, for example, and then move on to describe their personal experience in more detail. Additionally, the speaker could use more varied vocabulary to describe the atmosphere and emotions during the football matches. For example, instead of repeatedly using excitement, they could use words like anticipation or euphoria or nervousness. Overall, this is a strong answer that effectively communicates the speaker's experience and enthusiasm for football in their village. Now let's move on and look at some tips for success. Here are 6 tips to help you succeed in Part 2 of the IELTS speaking test. Number 1. Read the prompt carefully. Make sure you understand the topic and what is being asked of you. Pay particular attention to the last prompt, as it's quite often the most interesting to answer. 2. Use your preparation time wisely. Take notes or create an outline to organize your thoughts and ideas. Your notes will be especially useful if you have any problems during your speech. Use them to get you back on track. 3. Structure your response. Begin with an introduction that sets the scene, then add details and examples to support your main points, and finally conclude your speech by summarizing your key points. 4. Speak clearly and fluently. Practice enunciating words and use pauses to emphasize important points. Use intonation and sentence stress to help achieve this. 5. Use a range of vocabulary and grammar structures. Demonstrate your ability to use complex sentences and use a variety of vocabulary. Try to avoid repeating any words you have already used. 6. Be natural and confident. Speak in a natural tone of voice and maintain eye contact with the examiner. So there you have it. We looked at several ways to improve your answers in the Part 2 speaking test. I hope you found them all useful. In the very near future, there will be another video on the IELTS speaking test. This time we'll look at Part 3. So please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Thanks everybody. Keep practicing and see you next time. Bye.